Are you ready to join me in transforming fear to freedom? That's the objective of the show. Are you ready to explore with me and my guests? Are you ready to get into the deep and play? This is where it's at, and that's what it's all about. No medical advice here. Use discernment and decide for yourself if the information is right for you. All views and opinions expressed on this show belong to the individual and are not necessarily shared with the producer of the show. Want more details? Go to letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com. Now let's get real and have some fun. Who are we going to explore with today? Come on with me and let's get into the deep. So, welcome back to all of our listeners to Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine, online chat show where, you know, we go into the deep on just about everything I can get my hands on. And today's guest, Douglas DeLong, is a medical intuitive, spiritual teacher, counselor, and past life therapist. He's written 3 books, distributed internationally on the subjects of ancient healing, spirituality, reincarnation, and psychic development. So we're going to talk about some of this today and get more information on how you can work with Douglas or check out his books and where they're available and the work. So welcome to the show, Douglas. Do you prefer to be called Douglas or Doug?
I prefer Doug.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. These are topics that I'm always curious about, no matter how many times I talk about some of this stuff. What I find is that each person, each healer, each person who's opened and awakened to their psychic gifts has a different take on it, or a different individual, unique kind of experience, I guess I should say, with their psychic gifts. So where I'd like to kind of start is, how did you come to your gifts and what are they?
Oh, as a child, I used to be able to see lights and colors, the aura around people, and I used to have angels and guides visit me when I was a small child. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and there'd be a figure looking down at me and stroking my hair, smiling, and it used to scare me. And then I lost the ability. After that, at age 19, I was in the hospital. I had some serious surgery, nearly died, and I actually had a near-death experience where the angels took me up into towards heaven, and then they stopped me from going further and told me it wasn't my time. I had to go back. And I came back in, survived, and I was always in the psychic and spiritual stuff, so I could read anything I could on psychic phenomena I would way back then. Back then, there wasn't a lot of books you could get on the subject. And later on, I became a Rosicrucian and studied metaphysics and parapsychology. And I also get a lot of information when I write my books or I teach my courses. I go up into the heavenly fields when I'm sleeping, and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have some ideas. And that's all I've written out of my books, putting a lot of information from above. And my latest book, Past Lives for Beginners, the newest one that came out a year ago, has stories that I've shared with a lot of my clients that have come to see me, even having angel meetings and going up into the Universal Library to the Heavenly Field. So it's quite interesting. And that's a really good book. It has techniques in it to help you open up your abilities as well, especially if you want to access some past life information. So I've been doing it since I was very young. And I've been working with a lot of people through the years. I probably have regressed, I'd say, over 2,000 people in the last 25 years.
Wow. And so you're located in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, am I correct?
Yes, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And some people, they're from other places, can't pronounce Saskatchewan. I've been on shows before, and the radio host is having a heck of a time trying to pronounce Saskatchewan, and so you can easily tell.
I know, that's true, but, you know, being Canadian, and I actually was born in Manitoba, so Saskatchewan is, you don't realize it's an old Indian Aboriginal name, actually, so. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's Cree or something, so.
Yes, exactly. So, but I wanted to let people know, you know, where you're at, because as I say, the show is listened to globally. But also, do you work with people then distantly? Like, can they work with you on Skype or by phone, or how?
Oh yeah, by phone. I used to have the Skype set up. I guess I could set it up eventually if someone did want to work with me on Skype. But I'll have a lot of people phone me, whether in, say, Los Angeles or Toronto for a session. And a lot of my sessions are just as effective over the phone as they are in person. So I've had a lot of people even have a past life regression with me over the phone. And I do energy work, getting the energy flowing up and down through a person's body, through the chakras. Sometimes I'll do healing work or training a person to astral or soul travel, teaching them how to go up to the heavenly fields. And as I said, I can do that just as effectively with most people at a distance. I've had people phone me from Germany, or I've had a couple of clients recently contact me from China and have sessions. So it can be done either way.
Yeah, it's really remarkable, isn't it, how much smaller the world has become in our with the new technology. That's one of the gifts of where we're at with technology.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can use your laptop or use your phone or whatever, and it just you can just go anywhere doing things. So it's quite amazing. You can pretty much have your office being portable. When you
exactly, but also the fact that we've come to, or a lot of people have come to a higher understanding that we're all energy, so that working distantly, there is really no difference. And especially when you're working in higher dimensions, there is no time or space. So, I think that makes a difference. That's my understanding. Is that what you are finding as well?
Oh, yeah. My first book, Ancient Teachings for Beginners, goes into, talks a lot about vibrations, how everything's based on vibrations, and how the soul vibrates at a certain frequency and goes up to higher vibratory rates up into the heavenly fields. So it's all based on that, and knowing that we're actually an eternal soul, just living temporarily in a physical body just makes you get a better understanding of what things are. And when you recognize that, you also start recognizing there's more to this world than just the physical, that there's a very spiritual, deep thing out there. And when you can do that, you can just recognize things much differently. It's really cool. I've seen people being able to talk to their angels and guides, or a loved one's passed over, they'll be able to communicate with the person that's passed over. So it's quite amazing. When I've done regression work, I talk about it in my newest book, Past Lives for Beginners, but I've had a lot of clients actually visit a relative that's passed over when they're up there, or they'll talk to angels or whatever. So it's really cool. And it's really great because I never know what's going to come out of someone.
No, exactly. And you mentioned 3 books now. The one that you're talking about for beginners, basically, which is a lot of people on the planet right now. We've had sort of a history of, I'd say, in the last 20 years, more and more people starting to become aware of energy, of metaphysics, beyond physics, and beyond the physical. And I really get that these people, a lot of them that have done their work, like yourself, Doug, are starting to, you're going to be in more demand. I've been saying this recently, this September 2014, I'm really feeling the energy shift of this time. And it feels like there's more and more people are waking up to, hey, there is more. And so this book you talk about for beginners, I'm sorry, I'm not having the title's not coming to me right here. What's the title of that one?
Okay, my first one's Ancient Teachings for Beginners, and the newest one is Past Lives for Beginners. And they're in the Beginner Center series, obviously, from Llewellyn Worldwide. And the first book and the second book, called Ancient Healing Techniques, are actually out there in several languages from around the world. I've got them in traditional Chinese, they're in Estonian, they're in Russian, and my newest book is actually coming out in French soon too. So it's really cool having the books out in all these languages and getting people contacting me from all over.
And where Llewellyn Worldwide is the publisher?
Yeah, Llewellyn Worldwide, they're out of Minnesota. They're probably one of the largest New Age self-help publishers in the world. They've been around for many, many years.
So do people get the books directly from them, or do they get them from you?
They can get them from Llewellyn. They can go online to Barnes & Noble, Amazon, whatever, and just order the books online. They can go into bookstores. My books, you can go in the bookstore in Taiwan, probably pick up one of my books. And it's just any way of doing that. You can also, if you want to, I can autograph books here, and I mail them out to people too. Sometimes someone will contact me through my website, and I'll just sign the book and send it out to them. that's
Fantastic.
an option as well.
That's fantastic. Now, I want to get into some specifics with you, Doug, if you don't mind. Starting with this past life regression. Now, a lot of people hear about that, and the concept, first of all, in order to have a past life, you'd have to have some kind of a belief in reincarnation. If it was true. And well, for me, I'll declare it right now, I definitely believe it's true. But that being said, what do you think is the most, why care about that? Why does it matter if we've had past lives or not? Is there, other than idle curiosity, like, I know when thinking now, the actress that came out with the book Out on a Limb, she broke a lot of barriers when she came out with that book. Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah. Right.
And talking about past lives, and then it was a big joke about, I was Caesar, or I was Cleopatra, or I was some, famous person. But for the most part, doesn't mean we're going to have a famous lifetime. But is there a purpose to knowing that?
Well, the thing is, I talk about it in all my books. I go into, if you can look into your past lives, you can understand who you are, where you come from. Sometimes you have a fear or phobia that can be traced back to a previous lifetime, or you may have certain traits or characteristics that you brought through, or some interests and some gifts. So there's many, many reasons to look at a past life. Sometimes a person has health issues, and they go see a doctor, and they can't find out what's wrong with them. And by exploring their past life, they'll find out that they were thrown off of a cliff and they had their backs hurt. And when they realize that, they're able to release it and let the pain go. So sometimes it's good for physical pain release and emotional pain as well. So it's once you get through that, then you can focus on making your life better and having a better future. So the idea is you can sort of delve in the past, get some answers, change and heal, and move on.
Right. So we're carrying the imprint of past lives, even though I really get it. There is no real time, but we call it past, but they're all kind of happening at the same time. So, or this is my understanding, I should say. But so you're born as a baby, and you don't have the back problem then. So is it something that happens in this life that would trigger a physical manifestation of a past life wound? Like you say, as an adult, you got thrown off a cliff or something happened to you in a past life. Because I remember, I'll share this little understanding I had. I remember a time when I had my jaw didn't hurt when I was a child. It didn't hurt when I was a young adult. Middle age, I kept grinding my teeth and clenching my jaw at night. My jaw would hurt. And one time I was talking to someone who worked in past life information, and we kind of took a look, and I was able to see where in a previous lifetime I had I was actually killed. I was a child at the time, but I was killed by my father in that lifetime with a piece of metal across my jaw. And once I recognized that and forgave him that incident, because he didn't know any better, it was just something at the time that happened. But all of that pain in my jaw went away. But what makes me curious is that I didn't have that pain as a young girl. So when we come in, how do you explain that? Like, how does it happen that the past life incident, is it because it's happening then when I was that age, or is it because that now it's time to heal it, or do you have an understanding of that?
Sometimes it's buried within, and for some reason your higher self instigates it, and it opens up, and the pain or the memory comes through, and then you have to work at healing it. So it's like your soul takes over on some level and guides that. Sometimes when a person has a serious situation in this lifetime, it can be happening around the same time as it did in the previous lifetime, but not always. like you're talking about, you were injured or killed as a child in the past life.
Right.
But sometimes when you're ready, your higher self just brings it to the surface for you to heal it and let it out. And it's important because we're the culmination of many, many lifetimes. Your soul comes back over and over and over. We're eternal. We're attached to the heavenly fields, to God above. And we come back until we're ready to go back up to heaven, like we've learned things and become more spiritual, more evolved. So it's all part of the learning and growing process.
So when you were talking earlier, you were saying about gifts and so forth. Can you go to, in a past life regression, can you go back to a lifetime or an awareness of a lifetime where you had a certain gift that you can, and bring that gift into this lifetime?
Oh, yeah. That's what sometimes happens with some of the clients I've worked with through the years. I had one fellow went back to a time when he was in Nazi Germany, and he came out of it, and he always had a fascination with Germany and World War II and the Nazis and all that. And he went to university, and he became learning German very rapidly, very, very quickly. And it's like it was all buried within him that came up to the surface. I've seen people like musicians that have, when they're musicians in the past life, they bring some of the gifts or the abilities through. So it can happen like that. And you think of someone like Mozart being 5, 6 years old and composing music. Same idea. Something comes through, and you have these gifts that you can bring through from previous lifetimes.
Is that what we're seeing with a lot of the new, a lot of people talk about the crystal children and the rainbow children and so forth, that, child prodigies, which seem to be very rare. Or maybe they were rare because we didn't have the technology to know about it. But with today, You've been listening to Let's Get Real, chatting with Catherine. If you would like to reach a consciously awake and aware audience, this is the place. To sponsor, advertise, get contact information, go to lgrcc.com today. Let's get back to the show. So we're talking about, I was just saying about the child prodigies that seem to be here now. Are they accessing past life gifts, or are they new souls coming in with these totally open to these gifts? Or I know this isn't in your books, but I just figure you probably have some awareness.
Usually they're old souls coming back with an internal awareness, and oftentimes they'll bring some of their gifts, some of their abilities through from the previous lifetime. It's like that veil that has been shut down completely when they're born. Something stays open and it comes through. And that's what I feel it is. It's not a new soul, because a new soul isn't advanced enough. An old soul, somebody that's been evolved, comes back over and over, can come back and bring some of those gifts through.
Okay, so these children are old souls that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I'd call them very old souls. They're new souls that haven't explored or experienced things, and they're not as well developed or able to do what an old soul can do.
Okay, so that brings me to the question, like, if they're an old soul, then, and they come in like the way they are, a lot of these kids are so loving and so aware of these interdimensional gifts that they have and so forth. Would you say then they're old souls that have done, they've had their lifetime, they've gone to celestial realms, whatever, did their healing before they came back this time?
Yeah, I think they're very attuned. When they come back, they're probably already spiritually evolved to a certain level.
Right.
And they're here going to develop even more, so they're more advanced. That's the way I look at them.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Well, if you're an old soul and you had a lot of baggage, then you wouldn't be that. You wouldn't be that open and loving and whatever. You'd be maybe bitter and grumpy.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing is a lot of souls, they'll go up to heaven, they'll be there for learning, being taught, and they get a lot of healing and advisement up there. And when they're ready, they'll come back down to do another lifetime. So part of the life cycle is being up in the heavenly fields, working with angels and guides and loved ones and just developing. And when you're ready, you have guides and angels talk to you. And there's like a group that sets things up, and you find the proper place that you want to come back and experience the lifetime, usually for your greatest spiritual growth. And that's what normally happens. You pick the right parents, the right country, male or female, or whatever that's going to help you the best.
So when you have had a very hard lifetime, say you were really mean spirited person, and then when you die, you go into a place and sort of heal, and then after a period of time, the angels come and talk to you. Is that your interpretation?
Yeah, you'll be up there. You might be in a healing hospital, being worked on. The angels talking to you, and when you're ready, they'll get you lined up to start picking your next reincarnation process to start. And you just have guides and angels. It's like a really unique process involved. But usually you have to get a lot of healing done. I've seen a lot of people I've worked with that had cancer and eventually died from cancer. But before they're passing over, they go up. They'd astral travel. They go up into the heavenly realms. They talk to angels and guides, and they'd be showed a lot of stuff. And then when they died, it's almost like they went peacefully, left their bodies up to heaven. And I've had people do that. And I know a lot of times when they go up there, when you first have cancer, when you leave your body, you're in a hospital up there. These angels are working on you. You're healing yourself. So I remember when my mother died from cancer, she kept coming back to visit, and I had mediums. I could see her and hear her, and she looked like a scraggly old, sickly woman. And by the time she eventually came a few more times to see me, she was back being healthy, looking like the way she was. She was 35 or 40. So that's what happens. I do know that there's a lot of things that are going up there. And heaven is very, very real. And we're just in our soul form up there. And when we're ready, we'll go back and we'll stay there once we've learned our lessons, become more enlightened.
So eventually we will stay in that spiritual realm.
Oh, yeah, become avatars or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
and you stay up there. But there's a lot of people, souls that leave the body and go up to heaven, and they will sometimes work as spirit guides, come down around relatives or friends and just watch them, observe them. They learn themselves and they help them. So sometimes instead of coming back into the body, a soul will just work as a spirit guide around individuals before they're ready to come back down to the physical.
So it's a choice to come to the physical.
To a certain extent, but they guides and angels will also try to guide you and say, okay, it's your time, you need to go back down again. And when they sort of get you ready, then you come back down.
Okay. So what would you've done a lot of past life regressions, you've done a lot of helping people with their deceased relatives and so forth. What do you think is the biggest awareness that you've had, or the biggest surprise about the work that you're doing, as far as people's understanding of the other side of the veil, so to speak?
I find with people, when they open up and they realize there's much, much more up there, they become more spiritual, more loving, and they start developing their gifts and abilities. And they find the reason why they're here, their purpose for being. And once they do that, there's a light goes on inside, and they make a better life for themselves, and they make the difference, making it a better world. That's what I find. Mm-hmm. It seems to be helping them on their spiritual growth, where they can also help others. So that's, I guess, becoming aware of their purpose in life.
Mm. Well, I just kind of wondered, it seems like we're here and we've done a pretty good job of having that amnesia to forget about the other side, but it feels like, well, in my lifetime anyway, it seems like there's been a lot of, I don't want to call it obsession, but there does seem to be, in a lot of the religious teachings and a lot of the media kind of, I'm going to call it mass consciousness, it seems to be that our focus was not on here and now as much it was get this done, because this is not a fun place to be, and so get this done so that you can get your reward on the other side. But now it feels like we're starting to understand that we're never going to get it done, for one thing, and that it's not a punishment. Like, we didn't come here for a punishment. We're meant to be focused on the here and now.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I think if you can make the best of being on this planet and having a wonderful life and changing your life and seeing the world, exploring things, beautiful, wonderful countries, going to great beaches, going to the Caribbean in the wintertime, and just enjoying your life and making the best of it, and then being able to touch the hearts and souls of others. And that's what it's all about. And
Yeah,
when
because
you
we
can
can't.
do that.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's right.
Well, I mean, you don't get a physical feeling, touching, being able to eat foods, being able to experience the wind or the sun or like that. That doesn't happen in the spiritual realms. Am I correct?
Well, in the spiritual realm, it's even more beautiful than what we have here. We have beautiful buildings, there's beautiful scenery, there's oceans, there's beautiful people, there's angels, there's flowers, and it's a really wonderful place to be. Your soul just floats in harmony, and it has a freedom. It's almost like being at some beach in the tropics in paradise and feeling that same idea, but you have that experience all the time in your soul form, and you can just grow from it. So it's the soul being up in heaven is just an amazing experience. It's like probably 5 times better than being on the physical earth.
Yeah, but
There's people I've worked with that go up there, and I get them to astral travel. Their soul slips out, and they go up to the heavenly realms. And I have a hard time in some cases bringing them back. They just want to stay up there because they feel like they're home.
right, but the actual because there must be some reason why we would have a physical, this kind of dense, with the body experience, as opposed to if it's so beautiful there, why come here?
Well, I think it's part of the learning process for us to come down to earth. We're up in heaven, and our souls bounce between heaven and earth all the time. We keep coming back, experiencing amazing things here on the physical planet. And then when we die, we go up there and we learn, we're taught, we heal, and then we come back down. It's a process. It's over and over. And as it happens, we become eventually more spiritual, more developed, more awakened. And eventually you get off of that cycle. Instead of the life, birth, death process over and over, you eventually, once you become enlightened, then you're up there. So you've learned.
Right.
And you can stay there. And that's what the goal is, to become better.
Have you ever done a past life regression or a experience with someone who's crossed over and had them experience hell? Or or do you have any awareness of, is there even such a place, or?
No, there's no such thing as hell. The only hell is the ones that we manifest ourselves. And sometimes there's lower vibratory rates in the heavenly fields. There's lower levels where people will go for healing, or they're not quite ready to move up. And there's higher levels, higher vibrations of energy where you can go up in the heavenly fields. It's like going from the first floor up to the penthouse idea.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing. There's different levels, different vibrations. You can go where there's healing gardens, go in the teaching gardens. There's many places. There's the Universal Library, or Akashic Records. I have a lot of people, when I'm working with them, I train them, they astral travel up, and they go into this library, and they pick up their soul records and start looking through, seeing a lot of their previous lifetimes and being able to analyze it. So that's really cool when that happens. And some people will just go to with this tremendous energy and colors and have this healing energy and color work through them.
Right. Wow. Yeah, actually, I've just recently did a show with Teza Shalsita, and she teaches about the Akashic Records too. So that's kind of cool that to be talking about that as well. And with you actually teach people. You have a mystery school. It's called
Yes.
Douglas DeLong Ancient Mystery School in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Now, can you talk about what is it? What kinds of things you're teaching there, and who's it for?
Oh, okay. My wife and I have had the school for probably 20 years now, the DeLong Ancient Mystery School. We've gone to Seattle, Tacoma, and even into Hawaii to teach classes. I do an Ancient Healing Level 1 class and then an Ancient Healing Level 2 class, and they're usually weekend classes, and I use my books, particularly for the first class, the Ancient Healing Level 1. I use Ancient Teachings for Beginners, and I teach people how to see auras, working with chakras, communicating with angels and guides. And the second one, I get more into healing, touch point healing, and getting people to do headache removal techniques and much more. So that's two of the courses we teach, usually on weekends. I haven't taught them for a while, but I used to get a lot of people, and I'd go to certain places and teach them. And my wife and I also I'll do seminars on reincarnation, or seminars on auras, or angel seminars through the years, and sometimes my wife teaches Reiki, hands-on healing, and we do distance healing work. Someone will phone, want some healing work done. My wife and I will do healing work on that level.
So do you work as a team, Doug? Your wife's name is Carol? Carol DeLong?
Yeah, Carol, yeah. Well, also someone will have a session with me for about an hour and a half, and then Carol will set up a Reiki table and follow through with the session that way. And so we'll do that, and sometimes both of us will send distance healing out. So we do, in that way, work as a team, and when we teach classes, we do it the same way.
Right.
And sometimes I'll teach classes on creative visualization and other ones that are like seminars are like 3 or 4 hours long.
Wow. So when people could people use a technique like that you would teach to access their, let's say, because what I'm seeing today is that we're kind of past where it used to be people looked at psychic and metaphysical information, and it was kind of a years ago, people were really, and metaphysical was really considered woo-woo and really sort of just idle curiosity and the subject of science fiction movies and so forth. Whereas now I'm finding, and especially I've got to say, this fall equinox that we just sort of in that energy right now has really shifted and lightened the energy, and it feels like more and more people are starting to realize that knowing that we have these metaphysical gifts, these spiritual gifts, these psychic gifts, these abilities to empower us and to put them into practical use. And more people are saying, hey, I want to know about that. And so I understand that I think it was Albert Einstein used to get a lot of his information from the probably the Akashic records of the celestial realms. Anyway, he said he'd have a little nap and then he'd wake up and he'd have please, just in case I might have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Albert Einstein that I was recalling. But so today, would it be a practical kind of tool for a person who's, say, in business or in a painter or a musician? Kind of touched on this before, but I'm thinking more as we're shifting into a new vibration on the planet and recognizing that we have to do things differently. We cannot keep creating this mess in our nest and expect to have a healthy environment to live in. So would it be practical for a person to access your kind of teachings and wisdom to create more harmonious businesses and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do have people come to me for spiritual teaching, and I'll guide them and help them, even with their businesses or whatever, and getting them onto more of a spiritual path and getting them more intuitive and helping them open up their psychic and spiritual abilities and using those gifts to help others. And it's really cool when that happens. So I'm not just doing a past life regression. I'm doing spiritual teaching, counseling, soul travel training, and much, much more with individuals.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is that, when you're accessing this information, and I don't know if I asked you this already, but specifics of, do you connect with, or do you channel information, or how do you get the information you get?
Sometimes I'll channel information. I'll see and sense the energy of guides and angels around me. I'll hear messages. I'll see pictures or whatever. And I just follow my intuition, and I do that. And sometimes I'll teach the person I'm working with to work with their own angels and guides, hear them and see them and experience that way. Right.
So if you were, what's your, as you're working in these different dimensions and with these guides and angels and what's your perception of what's happening on the planet at this time? I was just watching a United Nations presentation by Leonardo DiCaprio, I think is his name. I might have said that wrong. Mm-hmm. About, we can no longer deny the climate change. We can no longer deny what we're doing to this planet. And regardless of what people think about climate change as far as, a political hot potato that it is, because, we have this economic mindset about what we need and the economics of it and so forth. But reality is, we all have kind of come to understand that the economics are not really serving the masses of the 7 billion people on the planet. So I'm wondering if you're getting any insight as to what we're meant to be doing on this planet to help it to thrive, help humanity to thrive. Like you're saying, you teach people spiritual teachings and healings to be able to serve their fellow, people and what have you. So I'm wondering if you are getting any information like that.
Well, yeah, I've been getting it for a long time. I've also got, in my book, I had a vision I talked about where I go up into the heavenly realms and meeting these angels and these beings, and they show me, this is before I came to Earth, they were showing me what was going to happen. It's like a holographic image of the Earth.
Right.
And it showed all these things happening, all these changes going on, all the wars, the climate changes, all these terrible things. And then at the end, they showed the world living in peace and almost like it was heaven on earth. And that's what we're here to do, to manifest that. And that's what I believe is happening. We've got all these evil, terrible things going on, but there's more and more people becoming more awakened, more spiritual, more evolved. And I think it's going to lead us to having a planet with more loving people and more peace. And that's what we're here to do, to create that. And I think that's happening more and more all the time. You have to remember there's good and evil, there's dark and white, and there's love and there's lack of love. And what we're doing is getting rid of that negativity and starting to draw more positive things into Earth and higher vibrations of energy. And as we keep getting more and more higher energy, more people are going to react to it and start opening up their abilities and just getting it to be a better place.
So do you think, though, that the level of the, like when you talk about the evil, or there's, negative and positive, or love and lack of love, I like that a lot. Because for me, it's understanding that, and one of the focuses of Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine was to help to transmute the fear that I feel is kind of the root of a lot of what's going on. There's a fear that there won't be enough for me, or there won't be enough for my family, or there won't be enough for my country if I don't take from someone else. And I, so part of the agenda that I see is that, and I was in politics a number of years ago, and what I saw was a real theme to vilify, to make something a monster when someone else wanted what they had, or wanted to put them down in order to build themselves up. And that trend, people are not comfortable with that anymore. I mean that's part of the reason I got out of politics, because it's a no-win situation. You couldn't talk about the issues. You had to actually destroy your opponent. And as much as growing up with, 3 brothers and a sister, I knew how to do that, but that doesn't make it a fun thing or a beneficial thing to do. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if the level of do you get any insight as to how are we just supposed to look after ourselves as far as our spiritual path, or are there things that people can do to stop the, what I want to call it, I don't want to give it a lot of energy, but what we see right now of the kind of rape of the planet, the hurting of the people, the pain. Is there something we are meant to be doing? Are you getting any insight into something like collectively that we need to do to stop this? Or is this just part of the poison coming to the top, and it's gonna, as you said in your vision, in the end, it's a very beautiful place. But can we help it to get there? I guess. Well,
becoming spiritual yourself, opening up your abilities. If you can learn to meditate, if you can learn to have energy, chakra flow meditation, like energy flowing up and down through your body, to open up parts of your brain, your crown and third eye, start accessing information, knowledge, and energy from the heavenly fields above, opening up your heart with love, and doing a lot of that, affecting your aura and your chakras, and developing more of your abilities. as that happens, you become more spiritual, more evolved, and you can get other people doing the same thing. And as more and more people do that, there's more light around them. There's more of a brightness. There's more intuition, more guidance, and you get more understanding, and you know what to do, what to follow with. So the idea is, one, if you can become more spiritual, more evolved, and then touching others to become the same way, then it'll start making more of a change that we need on the planet.
And so when you say that you work on yourself, you heal yourself, you change your own attitudes, then it's not about going out on a crusade to say to other people, you need to change. It will happen. That's kind of been my experience of watching it. Change yourself, and the other people around you will naturally change because you're in a higher vibration. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I notice when I'm in a room full of people and I bring energy through my crown, I open up my heart, I send energy out, and a lot of people feel it. They feel the love, and they feel better. And I've watched the energy, the colors around everybody gets brighter, and they feel much better. There's light in the eyes. And so it's really cool when more and more of us can do that and working with that higher energy all the time.
Right.
And there's a lot of things going on the planet. Like we're getting away from using oil, using solar power and electricity, and all these amazing things are starting to happen on a positive level too.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if, that kind of shift, that evolution, it's, kind of like we fought, and I'd say we collectively, the, human species, we really fought the automobile when it came in. We didn't want to embrace that, and then when we did, wow, it just took off. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing. We're kind of holding on to the concept of we need oil. There's no other way. I mean, even though we've been shown repeatedly there is other ways, there are cleaner energies, that it makes me kind of wonder if the levels of allergies and asthma and dis-ease and all that stuff that sort of we're seeing more and more of is just sort of a catalyst to make us say, enough already. We've had enough, because to help us make our change into a cleaner air, cleaner water, cleaner planet. If that's part of it, can you speak to that at all? Do you think that's part of it?
Oh, yeah, that's where we're supposed to be. They should never have had the internal combustion engine using oil. They're supposed to use electricity and solar power from the start.
Oh, really?
Over 100 years ago, yeah. And something happened. I got squashed, and big oil took over, and we've got what we've got now, the mess on the planet, the climate changes and everything.
So that was Tesla, Nikola Tesla. He was pretty much shut down. I mean, he was talking so big on free energy, and I'm sure he must have been channeling that wisdom and bringing it to us, but there were some powers that stopped it. Do you get a sense, though, that now because we have raised the I mean, everyone I talk to talks about we're in the fifth dimension as far as the planet goes. Each individual is still working on their stuff, and we have people in higher dimensions too, but and living on the planet, but that we're more that corporate greed that kind of stopped Tesla and some of the other really positive inventions that were coming, that now the time is different, that we're ready for that kind of evolution, whereas maybe people weren't as awake and aware and couldn't stop it before, but now we're at that place where, and I'm talking energetically, I'm not talking physically stopping these oil companies, because most people have sort of given up on trying that because they seem so big. But I'm wondering if from a higher light understanding.
Oh, yeah, I think we're going to change and have higher vibrations of energy.
You've been listening to Let's Get Real, chatting with Catherine. If you would like to reach a consciously awake and aware audience, this is the place. To sponsor, advertise, get contact information, go to lgrcc.com today. Let's get back to the show.
That's really the focus. I really want to get people to realizing this is practical now. This is out of it's not just when you die, how, that curiosity. I want to bring this to the practical. We got to start using these skills and gifts and things,
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And if anybody wants to contact me, and I can just let you know my website's douglasdelong.com. and they can just go to the website and they can email whatever, just check my books out and what my wife and I do. So it's DouglasDeLong.com is the website in case anybody listening is interested.
Absolutely, yes. And I will actually have the links right on the show when it broadcasts, as well as your book cover and so forth. So letting people know that, because I think it's an important time to be on the planet. It's important for people to understand it's time to start using these tools. They're not, many eons ago, it was only the priests, the priestesses, the higher people in the communities that had the wisdom, the shamans and so forth, that, even in the Bible, you go back, there were the wise ones that had the wisdom, and the rest were just sheep. And we're kind of like that today, except that I find that today we do know. It's just that we kind of are looking around saying, look what we created. Look at the systems we have that just aren't serving us anymore. And we're ready for something new. And I think that's where, when you talk about healing disease and the cancers and things like that we're seeing, I'm just wondering, I might be getting ahead of myself. I didn't actually let you answer my first question, but you were, talking about the light being available to people, and I was asking you if you think that there's something more like we can do, and I'm not sure if I really let you answer that.
Well, yeah, we can. As you open up the crown, you allow the energy from above, the light and the colors to come down through, and it'll open up your gifts and abilities. You can also use it for healing purposes. I've worked with a lot of people who have had cancers, and when they're in the early stages, if they do it properly, they can literally heal themselves because they pull energy down through the crown, and it goes through the body, through the nervous system, into the sympathetic nervous division, and this healing energy can go out. And it's almost like it goes into the cells that have the problems, and it can change the vibrations in making it better. I've seen people do that. I've watched, because I can see lights and colors around people. I'll see the lights. Go see, say, a woman has cancer or in one of the breasts, and I'll watch these beautiful healing colors go around where the cancer is, and they can feel the tingling energy. And when they're done afterwards, they're able to actually reverse the cancer if they catch it in the early stages and they can believe in it and work with the energy. So it's a very powerful tool.
Well, and I guess what I'm also curious about is, do you think that the cancers, the disease, the asthmas, the allergies, all of these shifts, do you think there are all like a reflection of kind of the lower dense energy? And is it possible for anyone to heal anything in your experience, or is there a limit to what we can do? Is there a purpose for the disease? That in some cases, like a person has cancer, you've seen people heal themselves, but then you have other people say, well, why can't I heal mine? So I'm wondering if you think sometimes there's a higher reason to have a dis-ease or a disconnect or something like that.
Well, I think sometimes if you get a disease like that, you're supposed to learn from it. But I do believe that if it's in the early stages, you have the ability within yourself and with your healing angels and the energy from above to actually heal and rise above it. I've seen people do that through the years. It's just amazing. It's when they're into the late stages of cancer that it's pretty much too late. And all you can do is help that person be more comfortable and know that their soul is feeling comfortable when they go over. But a lot of people, if they have put the energy into it and they do the energy work, they can literally heal something in its early stages.
And what about prevention?
Well, the same thing. If you do a lot of energy work, particularly like chakra flow, getting the energy going from your crown down to the base chakra, right through your whole body, as the energy flows up and down, it keeps your aura clean and your chakras clean and balanced, and you get the chi flowing down through your spine, sends healing energy in, and you can prevent diseases and getting dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff. If you do a lot of work, like something called the May chant I have in my book, it'll go into the brain, releasing vibrations, releasing some of the chemical secretions from your brain into your bloodstream to make you feel better. So you can prevent disease by doing a lot of work, energy level.
Right. So even, because I kind of, I follow some of the different energy understandings and so forth. And Dr. Emoto from Japan, he was talking about the effect of, energy on water, and our bodies are water. And so, I'm not claiming any cures here, and that show's not about that, but there's so much stuff out there that is possible now that we didn't even know before. And so, when I look at that, I think it has to be true.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to it. You can learn to do energy work. You can prevent negativity. Like if I sense or feel a cold coming into me, I'll do energy work, and my auric field will get brighter, and it'll push that negative color out of my aura. I've watched it pull out, and I can tell when someone's catching a cold, we'll see kind of a weird red coming through their aura, around their head, around their chest area, and then they start getting sick like a day after that.
Yeah.
So, but if you can learn to do work with the aura and the chakras, you can sometimes prevent a lot of problems.
Because it does show up in this is something that a lot of people are starting to understand, is we're not, our physical body is just such a small part of us. That our energy body, our aura, is out there quite a ways. And so anything that is a dis-ease or a negative, lower dense energy will show up there before it shows up in our body. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah. I talked about that in my first book. I've got a couple of chapters on the aura, how to read the colors, and how to see when there's a health issue within the body.
Wow.
And I've taught a lot of people how to do that. I can sometimes pick up if someone's got a heart problem or they've got a cancer in the body just by the colors that I can see in the aura that's stepping in and around in front of where the problem with the organ is. So
Right.
It's really cool to watch that.
Right. Well, I'm super pleased that you have agreed to chat with me, Doug, and to share this with all of our listeners. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about that I haven't touched on?
Well, basically about astral travel, you can teach yourself how to astral travel. And when you're in a light sleeping state, go up to the heavenly fields and access all sorts of information, knowledge, and wisdom. You can go up to the Universal Library of the Akashic Records to access your soul records. You can start working with guides and angels and going up into the heavenly fields and the healing gardens. And it's amazing when you can start doing that. You'll start getting more information. You'll be taught up there. You'll come back down to earth. And when you wake up, you may not be aware of it, but something will be changing. You'll start having more things going on in a positive way.
So astral travel, is there any danger in you doing that and not coming back?
No, the only time that will ever happen if someone's really sick and they have a bad heart and they can slip out and they have a heart attack or something. But normally, if you're relatively healthy, you can slip in and out. It's a normal process because you do the same thing when you sleep and your soul slips out.
Right.
Goes up into heaven and you go traveling around the world in your soul form.
I've had that happen I've kind of it was very strange because I was coming back into my body, I guess, and a train was going by. And if anybody's familiar with basically Canada, rural Canada, especially when the trains go by, there's quite a high vibration. And if you're in a high vibration meditative state or in between worlds like that, boy, is that something else. That's really, it really is like, whoa, what's going on here? And yeah, so it was kind of funny. I didn't know what was going on the first time it happened. I was like, whoa.
Okay. I'm just going to mention to people, strongly suggest you get a chance to pick up some of my books. My first one, Ancient Teachings for Beginners, which is considered a classic now, and Ancient Healing Techniques. My newest book, Past Lives for Beginners, especially you want to hear about reincarnation, about angel stories. So it's really cool. And
so you have 3 books. And
yeah, 3 books. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to list those right on the website, and so people will know on lgrcc.com. And people can work with you personally. They just need to go to your website, dougdelong.com. So it's Douglas, DELONG.com.
Yeah, they go to the website and there's an email address and contact me, or they can phone me and I can set something up with them.
Okay.
And I work, as I said, with people all over the place.
Right. And also, Carol, your wife, works with you in some capacity there with the Mystery School, correct?
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, we've been doing it for many, many years.
Wonderful. Well, I sure do appreciate all your sharing and insights. I mean, we barely touched the surface on so many subjects, but at the same time, it's been great to have this discussion. So I really want to thank you, Doug, for taking the time to do this for us.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed being on. I really enjoyed it, and as I said, and look forward to things flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That, I think, will end our show for today, and I will be, as I say, putting the information up on the website for people to get connections to Doug DeLong and to his mystery school and to his connection to his books, which sound totally intriguing if you're interested in not just knowing about this information for the curiosity, but to learn that you too can apply this. I think it's time for empowerment. I think it's time for people on this planet to start to connect that we don't have to give our power away to somebody else when we actually could be doing some of this stuff ourselves. So super happy to be able to share this with you tonight. Until next time, take care. Wasn't that amazing? Thank you to my guests for sharing with us today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share the link. You can join us for live shows by going to letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com and listen to the replays from the show page, preview guests, and explore links to our Facebook fan page, WordPress blog, and more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.